Hello, beautiful human. Thanks for clicking on our conversation with Aly and AJ. This is a long time coming. We have a lot to discuss, including a brand new album called what, Daniel?
A touch of the beat gets you up on your feet, gets you out, and then into the sun.
That's right. If you haven't heard it, there's a link in the description below. Please leave your honest feedback on this conversation in the comment section. Hit like, and I'm begging you, please subscribe to our channel. Okay, here we go.
Let's do this.
Hello, beautiful human. My name is Zach. That is Dan. And finally, the tech gods would not hold us back. They will not bring us down. Zoom video chat will not win. Blessed and lucky to have Aly and AJ here.
Woo!
Hi, guys. Hi. Thanks for having us. By the way, it's been a long time coming because we've been waiting to be on the Zach Sang show for a while.
And
I think there's been a lot of
fans
back and
have
forth.
really wanted to make this happen. There's been a lot of chatter on Twitter about it.
People have petitioned for this now since like the 10 years EP, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too.
I have felt that groundswell. I have heard their voices. And I mean, you guys got to know something. You all, in my eyes, are like a different version of royalty. And this is the truth. I was raised by Disney Channel and I was raised by Nickelodeon. It so has turned me into the person I am today. And to see like not only like what you become, but also the fact that like you guys have not stopped, and music truly has been a part of your being and your identity since pretty much since I've known you guys, since I've watched the two of you in one of the greatest Disney Channel original movies of all time, Cowbells. You probably know it. But music is a part of you, right? Like so much so that like some people who may have been in your position like would have bowed out at a certain point or maybe given up or whatever it may be. But like you have stories that need to be told no matter what. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Very fair to say.
For sure.
Can you come work for us?
Yeah. Can we have you on the team? Let's have you
Like, just be on the
our,
team as, like, a support
publicist or
system?
something.
No, you're absolutely right. I think we have so much we want to say. And you know, here we are now in our early 30s, putting out our first record in 14 years, and it feels right. You know, I think this record is a direct reflection of who Aly and I have become as artists, and I really truly feel like this is the album we were born to make. I'm super blessed that I get to do this with, you know, my sister, who's also my best friend, who I pretty much do everything with.
Although she was just being really rude to me earlier and saying you're such an idiot, you don't know anything about computers, and I was like, well
yeah, because
Aly
becomes the most.
I was like, who cares that I don't know anything about computers? That's refreshing.
The most helpless person ever when it comes to tech. And so I'm the one it's carried on me. And then I get nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to figure this out? Anyway, that's just a tangent. That's just a tangent.
We're in testing trying times. You know, like
we're in very trying times.
We are just trying to figure this ish out. Okay?
True.
Yeah. Don't Need Nothing. Is that the name of the next body of work? Yes?
That's the latest single.
Yeah.
And,
that's where the title is from.
Okay.
And that is where the album title is from.
Which
correct.
Can you guys say 3 times in a row without messing it?
I can't even say the album title when I read it.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Say it.
A touch of the beat gets you up on your feet, gets you out, and then into the sun.
There you go. Nailed it.
That was beautiful.
I mean, I'm sure you guys talked about should we have a title that's this long. So why did you decide to go with that?
Well, there was definitely discussion if we were self-titled, if we chose something that had nothing to do with any of the songs or lyrics or whatever. And then there was a version of, I think, us maybe naming the record like song titles, and we thought about that for a minute.
Yeah, pulling song names.
But for whatever reason, this just like really stuck, and we kind of thought that we were going to get some like backlash from I don't know, just like management and our distribution company, and just like the team being like, what are you guys doing? And then they ended up actually really liking it, which was very surprising. It took, I think, our manager like a couple weeks to wrap his head around, and then it started to feel like, okay, there's not really any going back.
Yeah. I'm really proud of it because I think it sums up the album beautifully. Like, we weren't trying to come up with something that was long and ridiculous.
No.
Like, we weren't trying to pull anything weird. We just wanted to represent this music as best we could, and we felt like that lyric is probably kind of the pinnacle moment of the record, where I feel like not only is it kind of a mantra, you know, to our fans, but about just getting out into life again and what this record truly means for the listener. You know, for us, we're seeing there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're coming into 2021 feeling hopeful. We have a new president, we have a vaccine. You know, there's only so much you can write a record about in terms of like how deep you're going to go in that direction, but I do feel like this record brings a lot of hope and joy, and I think that title just summed it up perfectly.
Does the lyrics' importance only present itself after the song is done, or do you know when it hits that this is going to be something that you're going to carry with you and it's going to be a larger, like, you know, I don't want to say brand point, but essentially like a part of the DNA of the album?
I think
Yeah,
it
it's a
kind
good
of happens afterwards. Like, you don't really realize it when you're doing it in the moment, and then only afterwards are you like, wait, this is actually a really powerful, you know, melody line or you know, lyric line, and then kind of after the fact you start to put that together and you're like, wait a minute, that was actually really great. And then every once in a while there'll be moments in the studio where we're like,
Where it's obvious.
whoa, that was really genius.
That's rare that we
But
say
that's rare. Yeah.
In the overall timeline of you making the album, when does that lyric come in? Like, how much of the album is already done before you write that song that has that lyric in it?
So funny enough, that song was written kind of at the top of this album.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the songs that defined the direction this album was going to head. It was kind of one of the first batch of 3 that I felt like, and so did Aly, wow, we have the start of an album. And
Yeah.
this was in like, you know, towards the end of 2019. We actually did a lot of writing right before the pandemic hit. So a lot of the material we already had. And Don't Need Nothing was kind of the first batch of 3 songs where we felt like, oh, we have an album here.
Yeah.
But then it was not till like June of 2020
That we decided on an actual album
that we
title.
decided on the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you sit with the song for a while and you really, but does it change what you create afterwards, knowing that lyric is going to be something bigger?
You know, I think what it did is it helped us figure out the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Aly and I knew like, all right, it should be us outside, us having fun, not overly styled, not overemphasizing hair or makeup or wardrobe.
Just
being
kind of feel like us, you know,
us.
when you
Just
see us just like running around LA.
Yeah, and it should feel authentic and West Coast. And if anything, I think pulling from titles or figuring out an album name, that helps define the look of the record. But I don't think it defines the sound. Like, I feel like the sound was already kind
there,
of a moving
yeah.
train. You know, and we were just trying to keep up with it. But we knew, like, okay, we have something here between Pretty Places and Slow Dancing. Those are actually quite
so
old.
good.
Those are like 5 years old now. And so we knew we knew we had an album. We knew the sound, you know, what we wanted to capture. But yeah, the album title just helped inform kind of the packaging, how we want to package the vinyl, what we want the album cover to look like, things like that.
What songs on the album were the most recently done?
Stomach is probably
the most recent in terms of writing and like newness. Because
Yeah.
we only, I mean, it's funny that you say new, but we wrote that song like almost exactly a year ago. It was like a year ago and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll have written that song. But yeah, I would say that would be the newest, and then I think the oldest song on the record would be Pretty Places, which is, like AJ was saying, somewhere between 4 and 5 years old.
Yeah.
When you have a song like Pretty Places, why do you keep that for 4 or 5 years? Because you did put out the other EPs. How come they didn't make that and you saved it?
It didn't feel like it fit in terms of the music style. Like, we always really loved the song, but we were like, this doesn't work in the 10 years era, because that's when we wrote it. And then it definitely didn't fit on Sanctuary. So we were just like, oh, we should hold on to this song and, like, I don't know, revisit it on a rainy day. And then we did, and we brought it to our producer, and he was like, this song's incredible. We just got to fix some lyrics that, you know, just aren't quite strong enough. And then we went in and did a big, heavy rewrite over a couple months, period. Just getting that song to a really good place. But all of the melodies and everything just stayed.
What is the sonic difference between Sanctuary's 10 years and this latest body of work?
Great question. I mean, you know, 10 years, obviously, I think a lot of the songwriting was kind of seeped in this 80s synth pop, super upbeat, lots of pop melodies. I think Sanctuary, we even took that a little further. I don't think it's a drastic departure from the 10 Years EP. I actually think you could play them back to back and it would make sense. And then you have Attack of Panic, which kind of feels like this 90s industrial production. You know, Joan of Arc on the dance floor to me feels very 80s. And then this record to me feels a bit more steeped in like classic Americana songwriting. You know, it's it's a little bit less about pinpointing this kind of dance era of like 80s or 90s, and instead going back to like Springsteen, Dylan, like hoping that we can somehow kind of capture the essence of those kind of artists. I hate actually using names of people that are so iconic. But I do feel like this record has a bit more of a timeless sound sonically. I think you could listen to this in 10, 20 years and not necessarily know when it first came out. I think Pretty Places from a songwriting perspective just feels very classic. I also think songs like Slow Dancing, Hold Out, Stomach, some of the slower tunes on the record sound a bit more like, you know, beautiful standards that could be played for years to come. Whereas I think the last two EPs just feel a bit more etched in like this 80s, you know, synth pop sound. And this record was done with all live instrumentation in one room. So
I think that's the largest difference. I mean, besides AJ, you know,
the songwriting,
saying that, yeah, the songwriting is different and it's not as 80s inspired. I think that just how we went about the recording process is much different. You know, with the EPs, we didn't have nearly as much time, and that was kind of all, you know, done with our producer and him working these parts together on his computer. I think that was just the main difference, that we actually had guys in one room cutting these songs at one time. And I think that you get that energy from them playing live in a different way than if you're just, you know, working off your computer as a producer. It's just different.
When you're tackling new sonics or a new body of work or a new era, do you set goals before you do it? Or do you just write and then let that decide where it's going to go?
I mean, it's a combination, a little bit of both. Yeah.
It's funny. We actually set the goal to make this specific type record back when we were making the Sanctuary EP.
Yeah.
We were working with Eve Rothman, who worked on Church and Star Maps. And did he do two?
Don't Go Changing.
Don't Go Changing. He did three. And we kind of said, like, guys, we can't wait any longer. Like, it's time to make a full record after this.
And he knew like what kind of record he was at least wanting us to make, and we were down. And then, you know, it was just a matter of getting into the studio to write those songs.
Exactly.
But we kind of knew what we were setting out to make, even though we didn't even have like
the material yet. But that helped steer the first couple songs. So in a way, you pre-plan just enough to know the flavor of songs you want to go after. But beyond that, you just let the songs come. And they end up telling your story. Like, you start realizing, I don't need all these other tunes. These aren't working in the same way these 12
I also
are.
think, you know, it's very common in the pop genre specifically to have like 9 writers on a song.
Yeah.
Which is really wild to me.
Do that.
And we're not down with that. Not because of any specific reason other than I just think it's too many cooks. And I think that you don't need to have 9 writers to make a great song. And so when it comes to the writing process for us, you know, we usually write it with one other collaborator, maybe 2. And then, you know, at that point, it's like, you know, there's maybe a dust up on lyrics and we send it to some guy like a Jeremiah or something who like we really trust and has like some really great taste with lyrics. And we're like, hey, like this line just isn't feeling right. Can you know, like throw us something? And then that person now is, you know, a small part of the writing. But like, I do think that keeping these songs like close to us in our camp is important, that it doesn't just get, you know, kind of divided up between like 10, 12 people. And I think that also kind of helps us on like staying focused on our intentions.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, creative cohesion, like, is accomplished when you do that. But, I mean, there's a bunch of good, like, positives to keeping a room really tight.
Yeah.
So is it just really the two of you for the most part? Do you work with another person? Do you set time aside every week to make music? Or is it just, like, whenever the mood strikes?
When we were focused on making this album, we, like, very much set a goal in place that, like, we need to be writing, you know, every day.
Yeah.
with this amount of time being used towards songwriting. Now, do we always do that? No. I feel like Aly and I are getting better and better at that, because I do think you have to kind of schedule it.
Yeah, and like force yourself to like know that you're showing up for something.
Yeah, and just sit down and have the creative energy to know that that's what you're setting out to do. A lot of it, to be honest, is Aly and I. Like, you know, we're really strong lyricists and we're really strong with melody. However, a lot of times we like to bring in one more person, whether that's George Albrecht or Eve Rothman. They were the main collaborators on the record because they're a bit more musically experienced than Aly and I are. I feel like they add a dynamic that Aly and I are missing a little bit. We're really strong songwriters, but we're not as strong when it comes to picking up an instrument. So sometimes I feel like creatively we need that person that's pushing that forward.
Yeah, like we're our abilities are somewhat in a box, which sometimes can be good because it forces us to be like extra creative.
Mhm.
But you know, George and Eve are like fantastic musicians and play multiple instruments, and so, you know, we kind of will rely on them to start playing like a little melody line on the guitar or whatever, that then we jump onto and start singing over and
Right.
and writing the lyric to.
So usually it's us two, you know, either alone or us two with one additional person, maybe two.
I want to go back a little bit in history, and I'm just interested, like, to you guys today, and as you create, like, does potential breakup song have any meaning?
I mean,
Not
that's funny.
really.
Not really.
No.
No, because it wasn't written about anyone specifically, and it was just like a fun, kind of cheeky
Breakup anthem. It doesn't have like
that didn't have any specific tie to us. So in a weird way, it's like super universal.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's why it ended up.
Which maybe is why
Doing so
people
well.
loved it so much, but also maybe is why we're not super attached to it. Is because it didn't come from like a, you know,
Personal
experience. Like a guy didn't actually forget our birthday,
And like, who cares? I guess if they did, but it
Yeah.
is kind of messed up. If you're dating for a long time, that's weird.
Yeah.
that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Do
But
you
yeah.
do you learn anything from the success of that record that you actually have, like, that you may tap into today?
I don't know.
Just silence.
I don't know. It's like
I don't know.
It's an interesting question.
I think in terms of like who we've become as songwriters, singers, two people that feel very comfortable touring, two people that understand their industry a lot better, I feel like those records did lend themselves to the knowledge we have now. Because I think experience and time just adds up to more knowledge, more info, more intel, how things work. So I do feel like, you know, not to say Into the Rush and Insomniac haven't taught us anything else, but what they've taught us is how to be better about what we do now, and to not kick ourselves when we're not at our best.
Yeah.
You know, we were very serious when we were younger about our songwriting. If it wasn't good enough, we'd beat ourselves up. If it got a little bit critiqued, we would get super down. Now I'm like, I don't really care if someone doesn't dig this.
It's not super
I'm like,
precious to us as much as it used to be.
yeah, now it's just like we love what we're putting out, and hopefully other people do too. But I think we were very concerned about other people's thoughts when we were younger.
That was my question. Like, back then, who were you making music for?
Yeah, I think we were making music less for ourselves back then, whereas now I think we're pretty much like 90% making music for ourselves. That doesn't mean that the fans aren't thought of, because they 100% are. But I think back then we were kind of half and half, or maybe even a little bit more trying to make it for the fans or for radio or to please our label, in a way that then ended up actually hurting the creative process and became not nearly as enjoyable. And I think now we're just doing us, and whether people are into it or they're not, like, that's cool. Like,
But it's
peace
funny.
and love.
Our fans want us to just do us. Like, that's what they want to hear anyway. So you end up making music for your fans because they know it's authentically making us happy,
Right.
and they want that. So
It's interesting too, because there's a different era in music than it was, 15 years ago. Like, certain things that fly now, no way would have flown back then. And it's interesting seeing some of the young artists come up and have like this great success, which is so wonderful, because they have this like real voice in the industry. But it's crazy because I'm like, that would never have gone down in 2005 in that same way.
yeah, like you'd never be playing SNL or Tiny Desk if you came from
Disney
Channel.
No
now
way.
it's like if you're streaming really high and your socials are crazy, it's like they don't care where you come from.
Yeah, and
you're,
you can
you're
also
going on.
you can also be on the cover of Vogue magazine as well, and you could be like under 25. That was like not even a thing.
Whereas we were not known as the cool kids because we had been attached to Disney.
Yeah.
Now it's like you can be a cool kid and attached to anything.
Yeah.
By the way, but like cool is the biggest thing, right? Like you still got to be cool, and there are some Disney stars still that struggle to really have success in the music space as like a serious act. But you're right, that is like a real that was a real stigma that was put upon artists within your generation that came from Disney. But music is more genuine than it's ever been today, and it's more democratized than it's ever been today, because anybody can, not saying anybody can have a hit song, but like the odds are in your favor now more than ever,
Right, right.
Yeah.
If you play the game right. But the truth is, like, it must be freeing to do
Totally.
something so personal just for yourself.
It is.
Yeah, very much so.
It really is.
And it feels good because I think we've also kind of earned it. Like it hasn't been like the easiest journey for AJ and I on just like a music level. You know, yes, we got a lot of success as young artists, but in the grand scheme of things, I still look at us like we never really even fully hit our full stride. And then we kind of took
pulled out of it.
We kind of pulled away from it and took a backseat with music and focused on our acting careers. And I think that in a weird way, that might have saved like our sanity, our relationship as sisters, all these weird things that like we'll never know what would have happened if we had maybe just kept making records or if we'd never left our label or whatever. But at the end of the day, I do think that like we're supposed to be where we're at, and there's no way we would have made a Touch the Beat without all of those obstacles in front of us along the way. And I think it just made us even more determined to like prove to ourselves more than anybody that we could make this record.
That's the thing. I think when we were making Insomniatic, we were trying to prove to the record that we could make a second great album, whereas the first one came in a really beautiful, organic way, and then it's all about the sophomore slump most likely hitting. How can you make that second record great?
Yeah.
And now it's like we're making what I feel is almost our first record because it's been so long, but we're making it for ourselves. That's the coolest part of this. It's not really being turned into a label that's going to look at it and go, you guys got to start over.
Yeah.
By the way, the sophomore slump is still very real. So real that like people are like, they don't even want to have a debut album because they're afraid that they have to then release something that is going to be the second.
Well, that is what's great about this album is it's not our debut. So I'm like, yes.
It is. It's definitely more liberating because is there pressure attached to this release at all?
No.
Not really.
Not really.
No, it just feels so damn good. I know that's crazy. I guess there should be pressure attached to everything because it means that maybe you'll strive to do better. But I feel like Aly and I already did it.
I think that we did the hardest part already, which was
it.
literally making it and really writing the songs. I think that the hardest part of any facet of the music industry is the songs and getting the song. If you get that, then everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
And I feel like we got that early on kind of so easily and so effortlessly because of the people that we chose to work with and because we are really good at
curating it.
Yeah, curating like a great
people.
team and also just knowing when a song is feeling really good and when a song is not feeling good and that we can just abandon it and not think twice about it. I think a lot of people get really fixated on trying to like write a song and make it perfect and they tweak it for years on end and instead me and AJ will just like completely shelf it and then if one day we want to go back to it we will and we'll work on it and then it's you know out into the world or we never work on it again and we just say dude this song just is not, this is like a ugly stepchild. That's fine, whatever. But like, you know, you have to kind of know when to move on. And we're very much not precious about that. I think that's really good because I think it helps us continue to like keep making music and not be holding on to these songs, you know, for eternity.
Shelving something is okay. You know, like genius doesn't strike every day. So why milk something that is like completely dry?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
The stigma or like this idea that Disney Channel stars back then couldn't be mainstream pop stars. Do you think that was a poorly placed like label that like radio programmers, because obviously DSPs, like there's no Spotify or Apple, you know, and iTunes charts are pretty democratized based depending outside of like who could make it to their homepage and who couldn't back then. But like, do you think that was like well-deserved or foolishly stupid?
In the moment, Aly and I thought it was foolishly stupid because we were like, don't they get it? Like we're doing stuff that does deserve to be mainstream. This should not be just on the Disney shelf. Like, how are these people not seeing this? Now that I really look back though, I go, there was not a lot of great stuff coming out of there at that time. And I don't want to like diss anyone. I don't truly feel that radio would have taken what was coming out of that time because there was so much other great mainstream pop rock that was being developed outside of Disney that there was almost no room for.
Yeah, there wasn't. And again,
we were making good records, but it doesn't mean
really young. We were still really young too. Like when you think about it, it's like there's not a lot of like, you know, 17 and 15-year-olds on radio. I mean, you know, you've got Billie Eilish and she's like a, you know, anomaly. But like most people that are on radio are, you know, in their early to mid 20s. And so for us to be that young trying to break out on radio was obviously ambitious.
Yeah.
And I, we still are proud of the records that we made. Obviously, we would do things I know differently now, but that's just because of taste and just being older. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's very interesting because, there have been acts, obviously, from the Disney era that have been able to surpass that, kind of box that they were initially put in.
Yeah, really hard. And I think, I think it also was like really hard. And I think it was a lot of it was based on like how much money was put into this act in specific. So you needed to see a return on it. So like Miley was pushed, forever, and See You Again was a single picked by a program director that the label, if I heard the story correctly, the label at the time threatened to sue him for playing it because it wasn't the single that they were pushing. So,
oh my.
Yeah.
When it's like, guys, it's like, just take the song and run with it.
Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly. And then, Miley, and then the Jonas Brothers, but like that, to be honest, radio didn't really play the Jonas Brothers ever. The Jonas Brothers got their first number one at radio fairly recently. I think it was like Sucker or something.
Yes,
you're absolutely right.
But radio used the Jonas Brothers for mall shows and concerts and mob scene moments.
Great point.
Yeah,
but it's not like they were spinning their records
Never.
for years.
No, Miley, I mean, really, it was like Miley.
But yet they were going to all the Kiss shows, all the, they were being used to be the promotional aspect to get fans to their live shows, but then not playing them on radio.
No, you're right.
No.
Yeah.
And if they did, it was very little.
Hillary got radio.
I think Hillary did, yeah.
I don't know. I gotta look. That's. I was more of the fan of that time, but the other thing that she had was like Aaron Carter moments, and Aaron Carter was this weird thing. I don't know. Culture's really crazy, but the truth is, you all, in some way, shape, or form, have laid the bricks that allow so many artists and so many really TikTok stars. Like, this was all the foundation of the culture that we deal with today. And it's pretty freaking wild when you sit down and you think about it.
No, it is. It's really wild.
No, it really is. That's why it was really cute when Miley wrote that open letter to Hannah.
Oh.
Because it was like she was thanking her foundation. You know what I mean? It's like that's what started her. And it's like, yeah, Aly and I have some really weird things to thank, like cowbells and potential breakup song. And that's okay. That's awesome. We can sit down and write letters too.
Do you guys think, 10, 15 years later, do you think people still put you in a box and associate you with Disney Channel?
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, today even and it's great. We've gotten a lot of love on the, media front of supporting this new record. It's been really overwhelming, and we've gotten some really incredible reviews, and just pieces of media that we would never get in the past that are really behind these songs. But I will say almost every single post, almost every single one, mentions that we came from Disney, which is fine. I don't think that that's happening to girls like Selena and Miley anymore. But I don't know why it's still happening to us. And I'm also we were there for a lot less time and we were not nearly as successful, but I'm okay.
Yeah, people love using that as the
it's just interesting
opening kind of sentence.
And I'm I know that we spent our time there. We were there for about 6 years, maybe.
At the label?
14, 15, 17, 18, 20. We were there for about 6 years. And I think everybody else was there for 10 plus, It was their entire childhood, teenage years, early 20s were there. And we somehow kind of ducked out. So it's interesting. Yes, there's definitely a bit of us being put in that box still, but I don't care about it like I used to 5 years ago. It really would get on my nerves in a way that it doesn't really do now.
And you kind of have to look at it why does this upset me? Who cares? Everyone has some stuff.
Yeah, and then also
it's always going to be mentioned.
And then also you're well, maybe this also is just a journalist or a writer that isn't doing their due diligence on their research, and maybe all they really know to talk about is the easiest thing to talk about is that they are from Disney, and it's well, yeah, we are, but that also doesn't define who I am as an entire human.
Well, also, yeah, and by the way, if you look at your acting credits, you guys have such an incredible resume that even it would take you a long time if you were searching via IMDb to even get to Cowbells. Okay, real talk.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. That's sweet. Thanks,
Well,
Zach.
the reason I asked that is because, we interview artists every week and we listen to a lot of albums. And I'm not lying, your album is probably my favorite album we've heard all year. It's so good. But
Thanks.
when I first heard Aly and AJ are coming on, I was like, oh, the former Disney girls. Like, I don't know what to expect here. And after I listened to it, I just listened to it again and again and again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I think it's just like people have to realize that's not who you are anymore and give it a chance, and they'll realize how good it is and how different you guys are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, we get things take time. You can't really expect people to completely help rewrite your own narrative when you've been gone for 10 years. You know what I mean? It's like, that's our job to do. And this is only really the first body of work that gets to do that. So it's our job to make another one, and then another one, and another one. And pretty soon that sentence is gone. You know?
Yeah, and then pretty soon,
It's like, hey, the girls who put out A Touch of the Beat. That's
correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that also will change with like the songs that we're performing. I mean, at one point when we got back out on the road, we only had so many new songs. So we were playing, about half of the set was like some of the new stuff, and half of the set was like older Aly and AJ tunes. And over the years, I know that gap will continue to shrink, and it'll be less and less old Aly and AJ stuff. And then it'll be the newer things will be the majority of our set list. And it doesn't mean that we won't play those songs, to get people excited and nostalgic again. But, I mean, when people have a long career, they have a lot of songs in their catalog. And I can only imagine some of my favorite artists, what they think of the songs that might even be my favorite songs, that they're like, I don't want to play that one. But I also get it, like I sympathize with that. But I also am the person that's the fan that's like, but play the song, but play that one because I love it.
And we will.
And we will.
Yeah. A good example is, we can't say, I don't think it's announced yet, so we can't say, but we're playing a big festival this year. And a friend of ours who like very much is a fan of the old material, and we've known him for years, like very much like tends to operate out of fear. Like he's like, you got to play the old stuff because that's the only thing
that's what they want. And I was like,
if you're going to a festival and you're on the stage, you got to play all the old hits.
I was like
barely play the new stuff. And we're like, dude,
I was like, they're not going to even know the old hits.
They're not going to care about old or new. We need to just play what feels good for us. And yeah, we'll play potential breakup songs, but like, it's got to be about the new material. Like we are the only ones that can rewrite the narrative. Like you don't just keep playing your old material and then expect people to not say Aly and AJ from the Disney Channel.
Yes, 100%. But like throwing in potential breakup song either in the middle or towards the end,
totally cool.
That's like, that's a great break or a great moment to celebrate. But the idea that a set would be made up of anything more than just potential breakup song in terms of old stuff is kind of crazy, because it is a reintroduction, right? So you have people there, they're definitely on a different frequency, just trying to vibe. And as long as the music is good, it's going to resonate with them.
Exactly. 100%. It's not about like, I need to know every single song. I mean, I feel like festivals, you go to festivals wanting to discover music. So let us be the band that somebody discovers that goes, I don't know who these girls are, and then they watch our set and they're like, oh, that was cool.
Totally.
And you know what, when potential breakup song hits, it's a pleasant surprise that really gets them moving. Really no,
I feel like this album
Thank you can help build the set list with us.
I got you.
I feel like this album was kind of like built for outdoors festivals, driving your car with the windows down. Would you say that's true?
It's a very outdoor record. Like you want to listen to it in your car, at the beach, like outside in your backyard. Yeah.
I mean, if we could do like visually, I'd love to just do like an all outdoor exterior, like fun Woodstocky feeling tour. But then I'm also like, well, they don't sound as good because you don't have the acoustics of a great room or a great theater. And it's not really realistic because all the venues we play tend to be indoors. So a tour, you really have to.
It would have to be like sheds.
Exactly. So we'll get there. But I love the idea of like all exterior.
That's sheds. That's like when we're playing like 6,000 to 9,000 cap.
Yeah, when we're just doing all Red Rock type.
There you go.
Well, so you guys set goals. Like, is that important at all? Like this idea of like, because it is like you want to scale up in venues, obviously, or does that not even matter at this point?
No, it does.
We think about that for sure. We were just going over kind of our tour routing yesterday with our manager, and just discussing like the venues and the routing, and how many shows we play in a row versus how many days we have off, and
who will hire,
all these little tiny details. And then we kind of went through a couple things, and we're like, hey, we should be playing a larger cap room in New York, just like things that we know about our business that he knows, but he's also only been on our team for the last year, that that nobody's going to know better than the two of us, because we've been there and played on stage and put in the hard work over the last 15 years.
But I do think it's good to look forward to bigger venues.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Bigger more dates. And I think
we're
that's
very
important.
realistic. We're not like,
we're super
we're not
realistic.
like head in the clouds. Like, I mean, just thinking like, yeah, and like next year we'll be playing the Hollywood Bowl, but like, would it be great to play Hollywood Bowl in the next few years? Like, yeah. Do I think that could actually happen if we continue to release really great music and continually tour? Sure. But
you have to do a lot of dates to get there.
You got to do a lot of dates to get there. And we
love touring. So we do like dreaming because I believe we can get there because we're the type of people that'll want to go out every year.
Yeah.
But you can't dream for those things and not do it. You have to just say, all right, then every year we got to go out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
What is the story behind Listen?
We wrote that song with George Elbrack, who we wrote half the record with. And we wrote that song in LA. Mm-hmm. He was coming to visit, and we had like a block of like 5 days of writing with him. And that song came together really fast. I don't know, for whatever reason, I think the two of us started it, and then you came in later that afternoon and we finished it. And
you started with the guitar line, right?
Yeah, it started with his guitar line. And then we just kind of, found ourselves like going back to that song again and again and like just loving it and knowing that it needed to be on the record. And then we were like, well, maybe we could have like a collaboration on this. We've never really done like collabs. So we reached out to Nancy Wilson of Heart, who is a longtime mentor and collaborator of ours. And we just asked Nancy, like, would you be down to like play on this or sing or whatever? Like, we just give you free reign. You can like send us the tracks. She's in Northern California and she had just gotten her studio together. And she was like, yeah. She was like, I love this song. We sent her like 3 songs and she connected to Listen the most. And she sent back the parts that she played, which were fantastic. And we kind of wove them into the song. And then George had connect with Jack Tatum of Wild Nothing because he's worked with Jack on, I think, their latest EP or the one before that.
Yeah.
I think it was one right before. And he was like, I think Jack would maybe add some really cool things to this, and like, do you want to just give it to him and give him a little bit of like free license? And we were like, yeah, sure. So we gave it to Jack. Jack loved the song. And then we were all just kind of stoked that it worked out having both of their collaborations a part of it. And it's not like a typical, feature. Like, it doesn't say featuring Nancy Wilson or Wild Nothing, but like their parts really elevated the song, that the song was like 70% there, but like what they added gave us that ability to sign off on the song and get it to mixing and mastering. And
that chorus though went through a lot of changes. Like, remember that chorus needed a lot of help.
Yeah. We had an original chorus with George. It was a lot different lyrics, right?
Yeah. And just the way the melody moved was a little bit different.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
But I don't know. I love that song. I like that it's like this song that, kind of touches on like being in this like hostage situation, whether that's like a relationship or a moment in time in your life or, the state of the world, whatever that is.
It could be political. It could be relationship based.
Yeah.
It could,
I just like the subject matter of the song and that it feels like this anthem.
Yeah. And then I think what made the song come to life even more was the music video we shot for it.
Yeah.
Which I love. It's like one of my favorite things we've done.
Yeah, in front of AJ's garage.
In front of my garage.
Literally the week that she moved.
Yeah, the week I moved. So all those moving boxes
Those
and
are all
that mess is all
Natural.
That's not set deck. That's just life.
That's authentic. I am repainting. I keep telling people I'm repainting that garage door because I actually don't love the color.
I can't wait to see what it's going to be. When are you doing that?
I don't know yet. We'll see. After the record's out.
Slow and steady.
Is this the music video with the white jumpsuits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your music videos really heighten all the songs. I mean, all the songs are great, but I think the music videos really make them even better. Like, what's the music video that you guys were at the farm? And I think, Aly, you hop in the truck and go to the bar afterwards.
Yeah, slow dancing. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
So how did you come up with that concept to go with the song?
That was our director, right? Didn't Steven
Yeah.
come up with that fully on his own?
That was Steven. Yeah, we've never done a tracking shot, in one take like that as a rehearsed moment.
Yeah, with like a steady cam.
With a steady cam.
Kind of dance.
So that was like a big goal of ours. Not that it's one shot the entire song, because obviously it breaks up once she gets in the truck. But, we were, during the pandemic, we were like, we got to get creative. We have to be very careful about, the amount of crew we use, people getting tested. We have to shoot outside. but also things are expensive, and getting a permit is expensive and takes time. And like, we were kind of like, we gotta just start like popping off visuals fast, because we knew we wanted to release like 5 singles. So we ended up going to where our mom lives. She lives up north, kind of towards Santa Barbara. And we said, we're going out there and we're going to shoot on the property.
We shot 2 music videos out there, and then we shot the one at your house.
Yeah.
And then the
one just on the road.
One on the road, which was the Pretty Places travel.
Which was a real road trip for her.
Yeah. And then the other one was just down in our neighborhood. Symptom of Your Touch was just literally in
Aly just walking around Laurel Canyon.
Yeah. All the way from Laurel Canyon to the beach. But
so we do things, in a very like, it's an in-house production.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And like, we own our own like film camera, which was like a big purchase for us, but we've ended up saving a lot of money as a band because
we're not renting it.
Renting it every time. So we have a 16 millimeter and a 35 millimeter. And then we always have a film lying around, almost to the point that like it drives me a little bit nuts, because
like the refrigerator, like the one whole shelf
is film. I'm like,
just staying cold.
Okay, cool.
That's awesome. Is this self-funded? Are you your own record label boss and A&R and?
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, AWOL.
No, we do have an independent artist distributor.
Yeah,
Okay.
AWOL distributes for us, but I mean, when it came to like getting the record made and all of that upfront costs, like it's all out of pocket, which is really scary. And it's not easy to like believe in yourself that much that you're willing to just like, lay down,
just fund your own
serious cash. Yeah.
But it's worth it.
But it's worth it. And we've gotten
lucky with some advances here and there, even though we're independent. We've gotten really blessed, but
it's ultimately like your own stuff, and you're making all the shots. Calling all the shots.
You only get what you put out, so you better put out enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have a question about personal cathedrals.
Yeah.
When you guys say, let's leave this party right now, we never like these people, very relatable.
Thank you. Our producer wanted to take out that lyric, and we were like, no. I was like, Eve, he thought it was lyric.
He thought it was mean, but we
were
like,
it was mean.
It's not.
I was like, it's not. It was just true. It was just a fact. It's just what it is.
There are so many people you don't want to necessarily be in a party with. Like, kill me.
Well, I think especially in Los Angeles, you go to these parties, you're like, I don't really know these people. I don't really like them. I don't need to be here. I don't think anybody here wants to be here.
Right.
Correct.
So what is the story around that song?
So Aly and we wrote that with a friend of, someone who's become a good friend of ours, this guy, Johnny Newman, who's super talented, and Eve. And he ended up coming up with a really cool opening kind of synth line. It's, no longer a synth sounding song, but that was kind of the opening moment was him playing on synth. And Aly and I just felt like we wanted to write a song about, being at either Hollywood party, New York party, whatever, where you're just like, I just don't belong here. I don't necessarily see myself here. I don't know why I came, but at least I have this other person with me, and like, let's get out of here together. And it just is reminiscent of so many things Aly and I have been to. Doesn't take place at one particular night. For Aly and I, it was about, being at a party where people are kind of there to
be seen.
The dance floor is their area to be a bit self-righteous, and we just felt like, so many people kind of consider their space this personal cathedral, and here are these two girls that are just like, we barely got invited, but like we somehow made it, and we came,
and now we're like leaving. Now we're leaving here for like 15 minutes.
It just felt relatable, and all of our friends who have heard it are like, oh my gosh, this is how I feel at every party. But it's kind of a running joke that like Aly and I, who both are very outgoing, become like kind of like these uncomfortable like wallflowers at parties, and her husband makes fun of us because he's like, it's not even who you guys are. You guys are really comfortable in front of people, but parties like shut you down.
I was like, I know.
And it's like,
I don't feel like I'm wanted here, or I'm cool enough. There's like all these fashion people that are like,
and like sometimes you kind of like try way too hard to get into one, and then when you do,
you're like, that was so dumb.
Why did we do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
and then that's embarrassing because you're realizing
you weren't
how
really invited.
That was,
Yeah, I stopped
like,
that.
The only reason we got into this was because of X. It's like our stylist brought us because we're losers and we couldn't get this just on our own.
Right. And that's how so much of it works, but no one wants to say that.
Totally. That's why I don't subject myself to that torture. I can't do that.
Smart.
Anything.
The funny thing is now I
over
can't
6
wait
people.
to go to a party.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I miss parties now.
I wish being in a crowded room with people all sweaty, drunk.
Yeah. Like I actually can't wait.
Their martini glass on me.
Can't wait for the next one. But it'll be funny to think of that song when we're at the next one.
My threshold for people is like anywhere from like 6 to 8 people. If it's anything more than that, then it's too big of a crowd, and then it's like, okay, you know.
I agree. I love just like 10 people. We're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Be in a group where you can speak to everybody. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like,
When you can't speak to everyone, it's too many.
Exactly.
This is why weddings should stay small.
Amen.
When it comes to Paradise, another song that's great, are you guys questioning, like, what is Paradise? Are you saying, will we know that it's Paradise?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like we all have this goal in mind to like achieve, you know, paradise, whether it's where you want to move or where you want to visit. And then it's kind of like
be in your career.
Yeah, where you want to be in your career. Exactly. And then once you get there, like,
do you even realize that you
recognize
made it, you know? I think that's a really, like, I just think it's a very relevant experience for, I think, really all humans, but very much so. I think it's something that we struggle with as Americans, because we are always sold this aspect of the American dream, and that like it's achievable for all of us. And like, guess what? Sometimes it's not. And it's like, it's really hard because some people get a better shot at life than others because of the circumstances they're born into, their race, their,
Zip
you know,
code.
exactly. Their zip code, a million things. So I think that, you know, the questioning of like, will I even appreciate and know that I've made it when I maybe have made it to that place of euphoria, I think is just very telling for where we kind of are as a society.
and our industry specifically.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it is a really kind of self-righteous job sometimes.
And that's like never enough.
And it's never enough. You're always kind of striving for the next thing. And then next thing you know, you've actually landed something that you wanted like 3 years ago, but you've forgotten to realize that that needs to be celebrated. You're looking to the next thing.
Yeah.
So
what does your paradise look like? Do you, while you're making the song or after, like, do you realize like what you want your paradise to consist of? So if and when you get there, you know where you're at.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Honestly, my current paradise is this record coming out. Like knowing that this body of work is out, it exists, it's being reviewed, it's being embraced, it's loved. Getting out onto the road and performing these songs live is a paradise. That's going to happen next year. So like when it comes, we need to recognize it.
I think traveling is going to be a big thing. Like, I travel a lot with my husband, and same with AJ, you know, the three of us. And like that is a very large part of my life that gives me a lot of happiness. Like whenever I'm traveling or visiting a new place, and it could be a place that I don't even speak the language in, and I just feel like I'm such a foreign element. I feel really at home and happy and not like depressed or sad or thinking about like what's going wrong in my life. Like I just feel like, and I know everybody's like, well, yeah, that's easy to say, you're vacationing, but it's not just like kicking back and like being on a lounge chair. You know, sometimes it's like vacationing is work a bit, or it's like you're trying to find those places that like will open up your mind, or you go to the place that's the long journey to go and see that wonderful painting or that, you know, historic architecture. And so I think that is like a paradise for me, is being able to travel and like see other parts of the world. But I think honestly, like our ultimate paradise is like being happy with the music that we create, being safe, physically healthy. You know, we are so grateful for our health over this past year. I think that has just given us like a new sense of appreciation, and just, you know, continuing to make music that speaks to us. Because I think that if it's music that speaks to us, then it actually speaks to the fans. And if it's not music that doesn't speak to us, then it's only maybe, I mean, there's some people that might vibe with it, but at the end of the day, I think that, you know, people can tell when you're really excited and passionate about something. Like it's tangible. You can just immediately pick that up. And I think people know how excited we are about the record because, you know, AJ and I are pretty obvious about it. So
Yeah, we're not playing it cool.
yeah.
This is the body of work, people. There's a link in the description below to listen to it. It is beyond Dan approved here.
It's so good. I know I keep saying that and repeating it, but it really is so good, like top to bottom.
Do you have a favorite record from the album?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, what is your guys' each favorite song?
Well, of the few you released before the album, it's Pretty Places and Symptom of Your Touch. And then after listening to the whole thing, I think Paradise is up there too.
Cool.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love
Listen to it. Take Dan's word for it. I've never heard him this passionate about anybody's album, and
I like it a lot.
I don't want to brag, but a lot of people come here to, release their albums.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I've never heard him care or listen this deeply and intensely. So Dan is the testament here. He's the testimonial.
It's really good. It really, really is.
Well, you guys are officially part of the team now because you guys can just help do PR for Aly and AJ. I
Totally.
feel like at this
You're going to
point.
help build the set for the festival we're about to announce.
Yeah, yeah.
Come up with.
We'll text you in like the next 48 hours.
Yeah. This
Dan
has been
and
a long friendship.
We are creative directors. That's what we moonlight as, right?
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
Well, I appreciate you both giving us time and energy today. And seriously,
Thank you. We appreciate it so much,
We
and
love
we're happy
this.
that the fans brought us together.
Yes.
They kept asking
Initially, they
about
really
this,
did.
and then we were like, okay, I guess we got to do this damn show. Like, all right, guys, we get it. It's
who
true.
is this person? What is this Zach saying?
What is this? Well, thank you guys so much for the support, and next time we'll come in person.
Yes, please.
Because you're going to have a lot more music on the way. That's what I'm assuming, that this is a
There you
forever
go.
thing, right? You will
Correct.
not
It is.
stop.
It is. Very forever.
Very much so.
And that makes me so happy. Really, really, really. Thank you for sharing your honesty and your stories. And just giving us your energy today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Stay safe.
You too. Peace and love.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, beautiful human. Thanks for watching our full interview, but I get it. Like, a full interview is a lot. So we got a clips channel. We don't expect you to watch the full thing anymore, so we just gave you the highlights. Please subscribe and notifications and all that stuff. Okay, cool. I love you.